one of the most popular and perhaps the best built SUV that you can get for the money. This is the Lexus RX350. Take a listen as I start it up. Still runs like a top and as smooth as can be. We'll turn that off. There, now it's even quieter. Then put it in gear. Look at this. No shaking, smooth as silk. And what does it have on it? 179,000 miles. And look at this. The short-term fuel is just 0.8. And then sometimes it's 0. When it's 0, that means it's running perfectly. It's not having to add or subtract fuel. I get some new cars that don't even go that good. When it's 0.8, that's 0.8 of 1% that it's adjusting, which is practically nothing. You don't have a problem until you get 25% off. This thing is just about as good as a brand new car, but it's 11 years old and has 179,000 miles on it. They don't give these things away. This one was originally $38,500. Still a reasonable amount of money back then. And it's not a race car. It's a beautiful SUV. Top speed's 114 miles an hour. My old Celica goes faster than that. But that's not what this SUV is about. Comfortable leather seats. Nice wood grain steering column. Lots of room in the back. This isn't some toy that has a tiny back seat. You can easily fit 3 people comfortably in the back seat of this thing. And yet it's still got a lot of trunk space. It's got the nice top so nobody can see what's inside. And you got room for all kinds of things. Plus, you flip these seats forward, man. You got all kinds of room for carrying stuff if necessary. They also have plenty of power if you want to tow something. But the main selling point, smooth engine and transmission. It's got an ultra reliable V6 engine. I've seen these things with 500,000 miles on them and they still have the original engine, head gasket, and the automatic transmissions are smooth as silk in these things. And the ride as you're going down the road is nice and cushy. Now for those fanatic people who really want more of a sports SUV, yeah, the Acuras do have better handling than these do. When it comes to an overall ride, put my rear end in one of these Lexuses, I'll get in a ride to California from Texas in a heartbeat. I wouldn't think twice. They are just so comfortable. Of course, being an 09, it's got old technology, it's got an MP3 player, and it's got a small screen, but hey, it's a Lexus. This stuff still works even though it's 11-year-old. My wife's 18-year-old Lexus. Everything still works on that too. It's got one of those 6 CD changers. They still work perfectly fine. Everything on it still works. From the cruise control to the security system that still works. Heck, this baby still has the original struts on it. And it rides fine. Contrary to what the dealer told my customer when he went there, tried to sell him all new struts for thousands of dollars, this car does not really need that done. That's how well made these things are. They can last and last. And yeah, you're gonna pay more for one. There's no doubting that. But if you amortize what you pay and how many years or decades you can drive these things, they're still a bargain. When you put together an ultra reliable Toyota V6 engine that puts out 270 horsepower with the extremely reliable 5-speed automatic Toyota transmission, last a long time, and get decent gas mileage for what they are. They're a heavy SUV. This particular one gets about 24 miles a gallon on a highway. Yeah, no great shakes today. For the ride and the luxury that you have, do you really care about a few miles per gallon? I don't. My wife's Lexus, it gets about the same. It gets about 24, 25 miles a gallon when you're driving it down a highway. It's the reliability and comfort that makes these things popular. You can drive 10 hours. I used to do that in other cars myself before I got my wife's Lexus. My neck used to get sore, my back would get sore. I'm driving, I tell my wife, hey look, no more sore neck or back ever since we got you that Lexus. I can just drive and drive and drive, and I'm an old man. So you'd think I'd be falling apart as I get older and not be able to drive further than I used to. When you consider the relatively high price of these things, the RX series through history, they've sold over 2 million RXs at the price that they cost. Now, considering that Volkswagen sold millions of Beetles and they were cheap little cars, Toyota sold millions and millions and millions of Toyota Corollas, the fact that they sold millions of these things says volumes about how the vehicles are made, how long they last, and how much people actually like them. And yes, even if you follow Scotty's advice and buy a used one to save money, they still have extremely high resale values because they're so popular and they can last so long. There's nothing wrong with buying one of these things used if it's got 100,000 miles on it. I had a customer 5 years ago buy one with 100,000 miles. He's still driving it today. It's got 250,000 miles on it. Still has the original engine, the original transmission, the original air conditioning system. They're solid built vehicles. Now take this particular one, look. Aha! It was made in Canada. Cambridge, Ontario, the same place my Lexus was made. You're gonna say, if you've been watching my videos, hey, Scotty always says buy Japanese cars that are made in Japan. Well, Canadians also make excellent cars. In Cambridge, Ontario for quite some time. I've seen no quality control problems with them whatsoever. Canadians know how to make cars. Heck, I had a Ford when I was a kid that I bought that was made in Oakville, Ontario. That thing ran and ran and ran. Canadians know how to make cars. People always like to have the Windsor V8 engines in their Ford Mustangs. Guess where they were made? Windsor, Ontario. That's why they called them Windsor V8s. And in the case of this Canadian-made Lexus RX350, the proof is in the pudding. This thing still runs like a clock. Customers had no real problems with the thing. And for an 11-year-old car, you know, it's dirty. We had a dust storm last night. It's still pretty sharp looking. For something that's 11 years old. Even the LI wheels are still in pretty good shape. So when you drive one of these things around, you just feel solid and safe. Even an 11-year-old one that's got 179,000 miles on it. It's just so smooth. You come to the stop sign. Hey, are things shaking? No, they're not shaking, even in an old car like this. And yes, they're not race cars, but 270 horsepower. You step on the gas, hey, it isn't that slow. So now you know the truth about these RX350s. Lexus has sold quite a few of them, even though they're rather expensive. In this case, you actually do get what you pay for. It's a 2020 Toyota Tundra 1794 edition. It's a real solid work truck made just outside San Antonio, Texas. The 1794 refers to the Spanish ranch that was founded where the factory is. And now the land's owned by Toyota Motor Company, and they make these giant pickup trucks there. Now the Tundra is the first full-size pickup built by the Japanese in the United States. They started in Indiana in 1999, and they moved to San Antonio, Texas in 2008. And from my experience, they're just like any other Toyota. Extremely reliable. Now they're not giving these trucks away. This particular one is fully loaded, four-wheel drive, goes for $56,000. But an equivalent F-150 fully loaded four-wheel drive, 2020, goes for $67,000. Now of course you can get a base F-150 a lot less than a base Toyota Tundra, but a lot of guys want a loaded pickup truck. These things are loaded, and as I said, it's a Toyota. They can last virtually forever if you take care of them minimally. Now interestingly enough, the transfer case on this four-wheel drive Tundra is the same as the transfer case in a Ford F-150. They're made by Borg Warner in South Carolina. The things you learn indirectly these days, turns out that a tornado hit that factory a while back, stopped production, and it stopped production of the Fords, Toyotas, and the Rams, because they're all using the same transfer case made by Borg Warner in South Carolina. So parts come from all over the world. Most vehicles are world cars. Things come from all over. And Borg Warner makes excellent products. So we'll check under the hood. And what do we have? Big old 5.7 liter V8 with the I-Force, Toyota's new design to get more horsepower and the best gas mileage you possibly can out of a big truck like this. But of course, it's still a gas hog. All big pickup trucks are. This thing will get about 13 in the city and 17 on a highway on a good day. The gas hogs, the big heavy trucks are not gas misers. Big trucks aren't. You want gas mileage? Don't buy a big truck. This baby puts out 381 horsepower. It's hooked up to a 6-speed automatic with overdrive that is extremely reliable. these things can last a long time. You want a big, heavy-duty pickup truck, these are excellent trucks. Now, as you can see, it's a big old truck. It's got the fancy leather for the San Antone Ranch. It is comfortable. I've seen the Ford Ranch ones, and hey, they got the same kind of seats in them. Who knows? It's Texas. They might even come from the same place. I don't know. Then go outside. Check the back seats. Lots of room. And look, the Japanese are smart. Air conditioning in the back. Power cutoff in the back. A lot of room. Easily fit 3 people. It's a nice big pickup. And a great sound system. This particular one's got a 12-speaker sound system. And being the TRD off-road, it's a little higher. It's got lots of clearance. You can drive this thing wherever you want. And my favorite is the optional $1,200 dual exhaust. It makes a nice sound. Not outrageously loud. Makes a great sound when you're accelerating. It's not obnoxious, but it's got that nice V8 rumble. Check it out as we take it for a drive. Typical Toyota, starts right up. And it's got a nice little interface here. And you can fill it with 2-wheel drive, 4 high, 4 low. Got oil pressure, coolant temperature, charging voltage. It's a nicely set up truck. Really comfy leather seats too. And for the man who has everything, it's got a sunroof too. Not strictly traditional on this one. First thing you notice is it's a pretty quiet truck. Transmission has a seamless shift pattern. You feel rugged and safe inside this truck. That's got a reasonable amount of horsepower, so let's see how it takes off in automatic. You can hear those tires spin. I turned off the traction control. And that sound, it makes a nice sound. I'd spend the $1,200 extra for the exhaust. Now for a big giant truck, it handles quite well. You're gonna feel bumps. It's a big 4-wheel drive pickup truck. It doesn't ride like a Lexus, it's not supposed to. It's a big off-road 4-wheel drive pickup truck. Now you will hear some noises while I'm driving beeping because I've disconnected the traction control. I like having them so I can make those tires spin. It's more fun driving them that way. If you know how to drive a classic pickup truck, let me tell you, this thing's for you, and it will hold up over time. Toyota makes a fun truck that also lasts. Yes, they do now. So I guess the Japanese have watched enough Western movies to finally build something that the American cowboy wants. Even if it's only a philosophical urban cowboy like me. If you want to tow, this thing can tow up to 9,900 pounds. But like I always say, you want something to tow, you're better off with the diesel engine anyways. They're made for towing. Gasoline engines are made for speed. Diesel engines are made for towing. And if you want a fully loaded, reliable pickup that can last for decades, this is probably the pickup for you. Toyota Sequoias. This is an 07 Toyota Sequoia. Got the big V8 engine. Now it's only rear wheel drive. There's no front wheel drive on it. You don't need that with all this weight. Got plenty of traction. And as you can see inside, a lot of room in the front. Yeah, the leather seat's worn and torn a little. It's gonna happen when I get to be this old. And we open the back door. And what do we find? The baby seat. There's plenty of room. Got the nice leather seats, and then more seating. And we're not talking about tiny. Look, there's leg room here. This thing has a lot of space. As we open the back, we'll get an even better view. We got a nice cargo space here. Then we got the 3rd row seats. Now, of course, if you take the 3rd row seats out, then you got even more room. And if you move those forward, you got even more room. Kind of like a truck, really. Got the original Toyota hitch on it for towing. And as we can see on the top, got a big old luggage rack. Now when it was new, this baby was about $36,000. Now my customer recently purchased it. He's gonna export it to Africa. He paid about $5 grand for it. Pretty good price for a solid vehicle like this. But when we go inside, we'll check the mileage. It does have 184,000 miles on it. Now I have seen them with 500,000 miles on them, so they can last a long time. Well, see how this baby starts up. Turn the key. Starts right up. Now back in the day it didn't come with much, so somebody stuck a Pioneer stereo in it, but it's still got freezing cold air conditioning in it. Nice cool air. Big old sunroof. And check this out. It's even got an entertainment system on it. This was a top of the line vehicle when it was new. And being a Toyota, everything pretty much still works. It's older, so it's still got a pretty much utilitarian steering wheel. It's just got the cruise control, nothing else. And just a plain old interior. But I mean, look at the space. Look at the design. This baby has a lot of space. And look at the leg room. And as we check here, look at this. It's got rear AC and heat controls too. This is a luxurious SUV. But it is 13 years old, so let's look at the data, okay? We got no trouble codes here, so let's look at the raw data, where they can't hide anything from you, at least for me. Here we go, live data. This is where the rubber meets the road. I can see what shape this vehicle actually is. I'm scrolling through, and so far everything looks pretty good, but we're gonna get pretty deep here. Short-term fuel trim. Each bank is pretty close to each other. They're just a little bit off. Something with this much mileage that's only subtracting a tiny amount of fuel like that and pretty much evenly to both cylinders is in excellent shape. From my experience with these, if somebody wanted to perform a full fuel injector cleaning service where I put my pressurized machine on, it would probably make the short-term fuel stop having to subtract stuff, because it would be spraying less fuel then. They all drip a little bit as they get a little bit aged. Now we look at the target air fuel ratio, 0.996. Now 1.0 is perfect, so it's pretty close to perfect for an old vehicle like this. And check out the variable valve timing. If you remember the Genesis I did a short time ago, they both were supposed to be 0, 0, and then when you look at what they were way off. It's still 0. It's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. It's perfect. As I showed on that Genesis at idle, the degrees were changing. They should remain at 0 when it's idling. This thing actually has more mileage than the Genesis had on it, by about 80,000 miles, yet it's still 0, perfect at idle. Shows that Toyota is making a much better engine than the Genesis has in it. We checked the misfire counts for them all 8 cylinders, they're all 0. That's perfect. So for such an old vehicle, it's in immaculate shape. Now let's check under the hood. And what do we have under here? Big old 4.7 liter V8 engine. But do realize this is a big, heavy vehicle. 13 miles a gallon in the city and about 15 miles a gallon on a highway. They are gas guzzlers. There's no ifs and buts about these things. Most of my customers that own them, they never check their gas mileage. I ask them, well, what kind of gas mileage are you going to say? It's got to be so bad, we don't even want to know. We just fill it up with gas all the time. But with the coming recession and oil prices going down, hey, gasoline is going to be cheaper for quite some time, it looks like. Now, being a Toyota, hey, they don't break down that often, but one big disadvantage of this V8 engine is they hide the starter way under there. You got to take the intake manifold, the top of the engine off to replace the starter. Bad design for sure, but I got my borescope out and looked at this. It still has the original starter on it. At some point in time, that'll have to be changed, and it's an expense because of that design. But it's not a reason not to buy a vehicle. The anti-lock braking system still works perfectly. Heck, it's still got the original radiator and it's not leaking. And look, here's something you won't even see today. The headlights are still clear. And the new ones, oh, they fade pretty fast. They even used to make the headlights better. These are plastic ones. The new ones are cheaper. And as you can see under the front, coolers galore. Special coolers here. Got a coolant fan for the AC condenser. Got a big old fan for the engine. Huge. I got friends that live in deserts. They love these things. They don't overheat. They are made to take high temperatures and throw that heat out. Even the wheels are holding up. I mean, they ain't clean and they're dirty, but hey, front and back, they're still solid. A few hits on a curb, but you can polish that off if you want. Let's close the hood and take it for a spin. Solid hood too. Corner's pretty smooth. Yeah, it's a big truck, but step on the gas, see what happens. Now it has a big V8 engine, but it is heavy. It takes off, but you know, it's not a race car. You can go fast, but it's awful top heavy. I would not advise racing around in these things like a maniac on curves. Ride's good. Let's hit these big bumps in the road. See, I mean, it handles them pretty well. It is a truck after all. I mean, it's not going to ride like a Lexus, but it handles the bumps quite well, even with all this mileage on it. And look at this, 184,000 miles, still idles, no shaking. This is a quality giant SUV. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.